Hey everyone, what's going on? This is Sam coming at you with a brand new series called Mind Thoughts. And I'm here with
Juliana Thomas.
And we have a special topic today. Well, not really special, but anyway. So tell the people a little bit about yourself.
I am the youth Bible study teacher here at St. Andrew's Church. I've been doing this for about 4 years or so. And the kids are my life and I love them. I also, my free time, work 40 hours a week at Northwestern as a researcher. And I have 2 lovely dogs and my husband, Robert Thomas, who's also a youth leader here.
That's great. And so we had this little bit of discussion yesterday. So we wanted to talk about abortions. And what is your general take on it?
My general take on it? Do you mean...
A general opinion.
From the law perspective? Or
from general perspective. From your perspective.
Okay. For abortions, I don't believe in it because of my faith.
Mm-hmm.
And I know like we talked about in our class yesterday, we had a debate about abortions, and there's many different types, depending on whether it happened because of incest or rape.
Which we will get into a little more later.
Yeah, so depending on the term. But for me and my values and where my God tells me, like in Jeremiah where it says, I formed you in the womb, or I formed you before you were even formed in the womb. So that's why I don't believe in abortions.
That's great to hear. And what do you think about the government actually funding abortion clinics?
So there's a separation of church and state, and at the end of the day, for me, I don't believe that the government should be doing that. And there's what's happening now with the laws, so now they're requiring even non-for-profits, religious institutions to be paying into an insurance policy that is paying for contraceptives and for abortion services. So that's something I totally disagree with. But at the same time, I know government institutions have that same law too, so I don't care as much as I do about government institutions. But I think for non-for-profits and churches, they definitely shouldn't be paying for it.
And it's also weird because a lot of politicians, they said it's part of our free will to decide if we want it pro-abortion or not. So like I just feel as though like the government's kind of swaying people that it's okay to do it. Why do you think the government would want to do that? Maybe you think to get more money, maybe you think to take more tax dollars. What do you think would be the reason behind it?
Yeah, well, I think at the end of the day, so you have to look at the numbers. So as the Guttmacher Institute, which is a research company for like Illinois State, I think it was like 2011, there's 1.1 million abortions in Illinois. So in one state alone, there's 1.
And imagine the rest of the country.
Exactly.
It could be, I can't even imagine.
So I mean, you could just times that by 50. So that's what, 50, and I think they said about 50 to 55 million children are aborted each year. Think about that as future citizens, or that's our future population. So there could be many reasons why the government does it. Maybe because of population control, but it could
like
just...
China has like a population control?
Exactly. So that's like an extra 50 million people in our world, in our nation.
And plus more tax dollars going out to the people.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. And another thing that was getting my attention yesterday is I was in a debate yesterday where if you kill a bald eagle egg, it is a $250,000 fine and up to 2 years in a state prison. What is your take on that? But abortion clinics are government provided and actually encouraged.
Yeah, I mean, it just shows that our government is perverted in the way that they think, and that we're coming to the end of the days. I mean, Revelations has been starting since the tomb was open. But I even remember living in Indiana, geese were protected, so you could, like, if you accidentally even ran over a geese, you could get a huge fine and, like, potential jail time.
Canada does that too, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whoever's Canadian, let me know.
But I feel that it's sad, because even when you think about these celebrities that fight for animal rights, that, like, these puppy mills, we have that same thing happening, but they're not doing it for our own children. So I think we're losing the respect, and children, like respecting children and where they came from. We don't have that love anymore because we're losing our faith as a nation.
So where do you think down the line that it just became a regular thing for a child to be dead, like to abort a child, whereas an animal? Where do you think that line was drawn in at some point if you could pinpoint a specific time?
I mean,
Do you think it just gradually over time became that? or was it just something that spontaneously just happened?
Yeah, I mean, I think it happened at the fall of Adam and Eve. I mean, that's the start of civilization going down. And I mean, if you think about it, abortions, human sacrifice, children's sacrifice has been happening for thousands of years.
Oh, of course.
So, I mean, it's not to say that we're doing anything new, but for a modern civilization with all of our technology and our values, and we think that we're higher level thinking than our ancestors from thousands of years ago, but we're really not.
No.
We're still the same, and the children's sacrifices we did thousands of years ago are still happening right now. So I think that the start of it, I mean, we're not getting any better with abortions,
No,
but it
I
happened.
feel like it's just growing and it's just getting worse. It just all comes down to what perspectives people look at it in. But in my mind, it's still, I can't make a positive out of it, no matter how hard I try. There was this story about an abortion clinic doctor. You're gonna love this one. So he was wondering one night. He said, "Why is there no cure for cancer?" He was asking God, and he told him. He said, "Hey, why is there no cure for cancer?" And then God told him, "I sent the cure, but you killed him." So that baby could have been so it could be just anything in general. That child that you aborted could have solved like world hunger. He could have fed starving children in Africa. He could have found cures for diseases, HIV. And it's like, we'll never know now.
Yeah, that reminded me, I was trying to save it. So Psalm 127 actually said something like that too.
We're giving you a Bible lesson here, folks, but don't worry, we're going to be back on track pretty soon.
Or I'm sorry, Psalm 139. For you created my inmost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb. Praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. So it's reminding me that God knew us even before we were in our mother's womb, which tells us what? That we were somewhere with him. We weren't even physically in this world, but he still knew us. So he planned everything that we were going to do in our life. And for him to send us down only to be killed, like you said, that could have been a great scientist or a great physician, or a great peacemaker.
Something that could have enhanced the world.
And so a lot of people that bring up the subject or don't side with pro-life is because they think that there are other exceptions like incest and rape. Well, like incest and rape. So people
Yes, let's see what's your take on incest and rape. Mm-hmm. See, because the way I look at it is if a teenage girl is caught in a situation where an older man is forcing her to do something she doesn't want to do, and then that becomes getting pregnant and a bunch of other stuff. What's the take on that? Should she keep the kid knowing that that is the son or daughter of a child molester, or just abort it? What's the take on that?
Yeah. So what I always feel like, and all of us have gone through hard times in our life, but I think that through the suffering, I learned more about God, and I've come so close to God because through that suffering, it's actually a blessing. John says, "Blessed are those who are suffering," because that's how you know that Jesus loves you. He's disciplining you in a way because he loves you, and he wants you to come out of it.
So someone getting doing that is a blessing?
So this is where I'm going with it. So there's evil in the world, but through this evil, the devil thinks he's winning because he's like, "I'm bringing you this evil, I'm trying to bring you down." But the devil's dumb. He's a liar. He's a prince of lies, and he doesn't know that God at the end of the day is going to bring good out of whatever bad he starts. So incest and rape are the most cruel things that could ever happen to a woman. But for me, I could never even imagine if that did happen to me, so it's hard for me to speak on it.
Notice we said woman. It's not just teenagers that can get it. Adults can get it too. I've seen some adults.
To a woman. But God can still bring good out of that situation. And I think that when it does happen to a woman, no matter what age, they need to be mentored, or they need to be prayed upon. They need to pray. They need to come to a church because God needs to open their hearts and minds to that decision. Because sometimes when it does happen, it could happen to a very young person, unfortunately.
So you don't think God would want the kid to be born?
No, he would want him to be born. So that's why they need to pray on it, so God can give him the strength through that time. Because it's not easy having a baby.
It's not as easy. It's not as easy to say just to pray for it. I mean, a lot of people nowadays, they don't really consider that factor. They just like to think with reality and oh, this happened to me, why should I have to continue moving life because of it?
Yeah, and that's why the law says then we'll just kill the baby. But they don't understand at the end of the day, prayer is the #1 medicine for any of our problems in life. And I'm not saying pray to make a decision, because as a Christian, you know that this decision should be to have the baby. Because there's millions of women in the world that can't have babies for years and years, but if it happened to you on one night, maybe there is a reason for that baby to be born. So you pray to have the strength to go through that process, and you pray for God to give you the grace through that situation.
And what would you say to non-Christians? What would you tell them if they had that situation? Because your beliefs and my beliefs are completely different. Their beliefs could be different too. We don't know. So from a general perspective, what could be the best outcome?
All I can tell them as an atheist, because you have no God, so it's hard for me to tell them about something that is so perfect and so loving. The only thing I can tell them is through an example. There was, I can't remember the woman's name, who came to Congress and spoke to all the congressmen, and she was supposed to be aborted. They actually tried. There's a chemical that they throw upon babies, trying to kill them if they're born alive during an abortion. They tried many different things to kill this baby, and she still stayed alive. And at the end of the day, now she fights for pro-life, and she speaks around the world to tell people that I was a baby that was almost killed, but I stayed alive. So that's an example that I can try to tell atheists of. There's a baby that was born, and look at all the good that happened out of her life, being alive. And it's hard for us people to make a decision for a woman. So I can't say it's in that situation has ever happened to me, but it's a hard situation. That's why I always say to go to prayer.
So let's say if a girl, like a kid, teenager, that had the mistake, and they end up wanting to keep the kid, but how would they break the news to their family?
Yeah, that's hard, and especially because the majority of women that do abortions are Hispanic, Latino, or minorities. So in those households, it can be hard to tell. If you've ever seen a very Catholic Mexican
If you've seen my dad, you'll know too.
So it's definitely hard to tell these families. But that's why I said the support system, church, is so important, because I think if you had fellowship of believers, they would help talk to your parents. But that's what I said, prayer. If you pray to God to help you, give you the grace and the strength, and not only that, pray for God to open the hearts of the people that you are trying to tell. That's the only way.
Well, I want to get to a new segment on the show where it's called Spectate, Reach Out. Now, part of earlier when I was talking about me doing a debate online, and I've got some people's names here who asked to be on this show. And now, going back earlier to the bald eagle and abortion comparisons, one of which is an animal, you get $250,000 fine, 2 years up to the prison, and abortion clinics are government provided, all that stuff. So, this girl named Corey Petchy said, there are billions of humans and we are killing animals for left and right and center. Therefore, they should be protected. 6 billion humans growing, animals declining, self-explanatory really. What do you have to say to her?
So she's using the argument that it's for population control. And so with the bald eagles are rare. There's a lot of animals, so they are rare. So I would come back to the argument of the government's using it as population control. And not only for population control, possibly, but a specific race or races. So like I said, the majority of women that have abortions are Hispanic, African Americans. So why is the government choosing women to do something that is only in Hispanics and majority of Hispanics and Latinos and African Americans? So it just makes me think what the government's really doing for the right reasons.
There's something they're not telling us.
Is it really for our rights?
There's something they're not telling us. I feel as though they're hiding something, but
and not only that, like you see with stem cell research, they're making a lot of...
Why don't we fund that? A lot of great things have come out of that.
Yeah,
Why do
but
we...
stem cell comes from abortions and through embryos. So it is a moneymaker in what they're doing now. And if you've heard, so partial, what they're doing in Planned Parenthood and why this has been going to Congress is because mothers that choose to abort their babies, if they're born alive, they're killing the baby right after they're born alive. So there's actually murder happening. So it's not only killing a baby that's inside the womb, but there's actually murder happening to a live birth. So that's where I think that's for a society to even agree to that. Is on a totally different level and showing us where we're going as a nation.
I agree.
So it's sad. But on terms of like population control, why is it only targeting a certain segment of our nation? That's kind of sad too.
It is very sad. And Janice Bellador said, all these protected animals are endangered species. Can you honestly believe that humans are endangered? Man, we are the danger. What would you say to her? Do you think that humans are the danger in society? Or do you think that it's all BS?
Yeah. Well, I always like to think of, because I'm an animal lover and I love my dogs, as everyone knows, and I actually say that as humans, I think we're more inhumane than animals. So I wouldn't disagree. I mean, we are the fallen, from everything that God created, humans are the fallen ones. God created nature and He created animals, but they never disobey God. Humans disobey God, but He still loves us and He still saves us. For me, though, for abortion, I would have to say it's not for our government to decide what life is important. And even as a woman, for it to happen to a woman, women's rights could say, well, it's up to the woman to decide. But I think that if our country comes closer to God, which it used to in the 19th, that's why abortion didn't happen as much maybe in the 40s and 50s, and I don't have the stats, but I could say that maybe we're closer to God and that we were able to use our faith.
Well, we're not from that time period, so we can't really pinpoint exactly. And Stephen Check said, I don't agree. We should offer cash to people already living off the government to not have another child. It sounds cruel, but so is having 8 kids from 9 different fathers. He's referencing African American people here. This is a Caucasian male. Who grow up without any parenting or culture, while the mom takes the extra government money to do her hair. So what would you say to Stephen right now if he was listening?
I mean, I used to work at Chicago Public Schools in the far south side, and I would be in a van and we'd do vaccinations for these kids in these schools. And I remember it used to be so hard because it was hard to get consents for 8 different kids who had 8 different family members who were raising them. But I wouldn't say it's just African Americans, honestly. It's just because of the poverty. You could see that in Caucasian.
Or maybe he could have just been a racist. Something I'm not gonna say.
But I don't think it's just an African American problem. But at the end of the day, it's not. When I saw those kids, yeah, they had 8 or 10 of kids in one family, but I loved all of those kids. They each had a personality. So for us to be like, oh well, who's gonna feed them? Who's gonna do all this?
And he also said without parenting or culture.
Yeah, but what's better, to kill them before? Is that what we're
apparently to him it's okay to kill them to save more money off of the government.
Yeah, so I mean, it always comes down to that, is when we're talking about number 1, population control, number 1, making money, and then we talk about life. And for me, I put life before all of those. So it's hard because I debate with people all the time at work or my friends, and that always comes up of, you always say protecting the life, but then what about when they are living? Who's protecting them during that time? But that's when Christians, that's when our job steps up, because that's when we have to be out there discipling, to be working in the streets, to be helping in these organizations. That's when our job steps up.
Exactly. And Mike Lewis said, I've never heard of an eagle drone bombing women and children. Eagles are better beings, hands down. This is a reference to humans killing each other, and eagles don't do that, and he's just speaking out of stupidity. So what would you say to Mike?
I would just say that the population that are bombing people are very low, but what ISIS is like probably 0.00001% of our population.
Or maybe he could just be an idiot. I don't know. Mike, you need to get your head checked.
No, I just don't think we have to worry about the comparison with that, because most humans are not like that.
Well, Mike is, so Mike, you need some help. Anyway, one last question from William Messer.
You're mean to your audience members.
Well, I'm sorry, when you ask me a dumb question, you're gonna get a dumb response. Mike.
Wait, did he know he was gonna be on video?
No, he doesn't. Mike.
Okay,
now
I
you
did
know.
not know that, guys. I'm sorry. Please, no hate.
No, it's fine. I'll take the hate. Anyway, William Messer says, eagles are on the verge of extinction, unlike us humans, and eagles are a vital part of the ecosystem. So now he went from us being in danger to now eagles being part of an ecosystem. What do you have to say about that?
They are. I do love eagles because they're the symbol of our nation.
I mean, but ecosystem?
But I will say this. There is another country who's already doing population control, like we all know.
China.
And
they just passed a law to have 2 kids now.
They recently did that, but do you know why?
I do not know why.
Yeah, so most people in abortions in China was because they would kill the female because they would want the male. So what's happening in China is they have no more girls. So you're actually ruining the human ecosystem by not having any females left, and there's all these males.
But he's saying we should kill more humans and just let the eagles fly, and you know.
Yeah, but so the way we're killing more humans in abortions is who? Is Hispanics, African Americans, is minorities. So we're damaging our ecosystem by getting rid of all these different ethnicities. So we are ruining it in a different way. And then we're actually ruining it because now we're teaching kids that it's okay to kill something that's within us. It's our decision. And that it's okay that if it is still alive, we could still kill it because we didn't want it. So we're teaching our future generation that's okay.
Exactly. And to these people, you know what? So it's obvious is that they're pro-abortion, but we just debunked every single one of their points.
And they might not be pro-abortion, but they see another
the way
side
they
of
were
it.
speaking about it caught me on that direction. But
because I know, thinking of nature and animals, this isn't really an abortion thing, but I mean, humans are destroying our nature and
we're bad people.
Our creation. We're destroying that. So I do believe there should be protection for animals, but if there are protections for animals, then we need that.
Where's the human protection?
Exactly.
We're the ones actually giving into the world, like technology and all these resources and values and stuff like that. I mean, one can't go without the other. We need them because of, let's say, cows. Okay, cows give us manure, that give us plants, and they give us, food that we eat. And we get plants and harvesting from animals and all that stuff. So it's kind of like a balance between the two. We need them just as much as they need
us. That's why God gave us animals.
So it's a good balance between the two. I just feel like, some of these people don't know what they're saying.
And I always think that it's good to debate and it's good to talk about it.
I'm looking at you, Mike.
No, but I learn things all the time when I'm at work and I'm debating with my friends because they come up with a really good comment. And I'm like, I never thought of it that way. Not that it would sway my values or what I believe, but it helps me to think about how can I talk to these people. Let me do some more research. What does my God say? So I can go back to the Bible. They might not believe in my God, but God created all of us, so we all have him in our hearts. Even though they don't believe in him, he's still in their hearts. So I always bring up the word because I know it will spark something in them or a seed that they won't show it, but it'll make them think about it later.
Exactly. Anyways, thank you guys so much. I hope you liked it. Any final thoughts and comments?
The only thing I can say is the Catholics do this, but we have a prayer for abortion and for our government to change the policy. Right now, Illinois has, I think it's the 3rd trimester where women are able to give or have abortions. And so if we could just pray for our nation and for our leaders to make the right decision, being on our knees is the only way to make any change sometimes.
Thank you for being on my show, Juliana. And next week or a week later, I don't know when I'm going to get to it. Next episode, please leave me a comment. Leave me a comment in the bottom. I love to start talking about this. Let's see what other people have to say about this.
And no mean comments, please.
No mean
just
comments.
Discussion.
Mike, if you come back, I'm sorry, but you needed to get called out. But leave me a comment. Let me know for a next future subject, and I will see you guys later. Peace.